In a world where the line between reality and fantasy fades away, where silence carries a secret, and every whisper tells a story. Welcome to The Whisper of the Narrator. Here, tales are not just told, they are lived. Souls are reborn through words of mystery and magic, where fear, passion, and destiny intertwine. Every story you hear here will awaken something within you. So listen closely. The whisper begins now. Are you ready to listen? Chapter 13, Ruby Scarlett, Ruby Scarlett's house. A beautiful woman with long red hair and a body that would be the envy of any model was sleeping soundly in a very ordinary-looking king-size bed. She was sleeping in a very comfortable position. It seemed that nothing in this world could interrupt her sleep. Lady Ruby, suddenly a woman's voice can be heard in the bedroom. Ugh, Ruby gave a sign of life, but continued to sleep. After all, she was fully convinced that no one would dare interrupt her sleep, and she also knew that no one would dare attack her family, and because of that conviction, she could sleep as if she had no worries in the world. Lady Ruby. This time, Ruby heard the woman's voice, but she was too lazy to get up. Though, for a moment, she thought this woman's voice was all too familiar. Well, she was too lazy to think, so she decided to continue to sleep. Kaguya, you're doing it wrong! Suddenly, Ruby hears her personal maid's voice. Oh, how do you wake up your master, Luna? Kaguya asked in a neutral tone. Luna flashes a sadistic smile and approaches Ruby. Then she says, Ruby, I ripped up your entire personal anime collection. Ruby suddenly opens her eyes and looks coldly at Luna, her personal maid. You won't fool me again, Luna, Ruby said in a cold tone. Tsk. Looks like I have to find another way to provoke Lady Ruby. The maid spoke aloud with a pout. Kaguya just looks at Luna with emotionless eyes. Luna was wearing a maid's uniform, similar to Kaguya's. She has shoulder-length white hair, pale skin like all vampires, and pink eyes. She was a Russian woman with a height of 180 cm. Kaguya looks at a specific part of Luna. Huge as always, she thought disdainfully. Luna's most outstanding feature was her huge breasts, just like Ruby, who had the biggest breasts Kaguya has ever seen. Luna didn't seem to lose in this competition. Now that I've stopped to think about it, all the women of Lady Ruby's clan have huge breasts, Kaguya commented to herself. Ugh, I wanted to sleep, Ruby complained. She sat up in bed. When Kaguya sees Ruby's breasts dangle in the red nightgown she was wearing, she can't help but think, maybe I should just let Lady Violet kill this woman. Ruby looks at the guest and says, Oh, Kaguya, how long has it been since we have last seen each other? She said with a gentle smile. Seeing Ruby's gentle smile, Kaguya stops thinking about random bullshit. She knows that of the 3 women who are childhood friends, Ruby is the kindest, calmest, and the smartest person she knows. She also has nothing against this woman. Boing, boing. Yes, she has nothing against. Seeing Ruby's breasts bouncing as she stretches on the bed, Kaguya pulls back everything she thinks and decides it's a good idea to let this woman die. Kaguya, Ruby spoke as she stretched. Kaguya didn't hide her annoyance, but soon her expression goes blank, and she says, "I came here to talk about Lady Violet." Ruby opens her eyes, a little surprised, but doesn't react too much. She expected something like this to happen. "You came at a good time. I have something to tell you too." "Oh?" Kaguya looks at Ruby with curious eyes. Soon, Ruby starts explaining to Kaguya about the noble vampire Corneliu Funar. When Ruby finishes recounting the events that happened at the university to Kaguya, the black-haired maid only speaks in disdain. A young noble vampire who thinks he's the center of the world and has an ego more fragile than glass? What is new? Ruby nodded in agreement with Kaguya's words. But that's not the problem. What if Corneliu attacks him? Oh. Suddenly, Luna, who was silent, started to smile. Lady Ruby won't call that man darling like Lady Violet? Ruby turns to face Luna and says in a cold tone, "Silence." Luna's body suddenly stops moving, and she says, "Yes, Lady Ruby." She spoke in a neutral tone, like a robot. "She doesn't learn, huh?" Kaguya spoke in a bored tone. Since the moment she met Luna, this woman has always liked to tease Ruby. Ruby is a kind person and doesn't like to use master status to force Luna to do things. But Luna knows no limits. She likes to tease Ruby in any situation. That's inappropriate behavior for a servant, after all. The servant cannot tarnish her master's reputation. Yes, I don't like to do that, but she doesn't know how to control her mouth. Ruby sighed. Kaguya nods in agreement. But then she says, "About Corneliu, Lady Ruby, no need to worry." "Why don't I need to worry?" Ruby asked, confused. "Because Lord Victor can handle it." Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone, but Ruby could see she was confident Victor could handle it. "Huh? But he's a newborn, and a newborn can't fight a noble vampire who's been roaming the world for over 50 years. Even though Corneliu is weak by noble vampire standards, he's still a noble vampire. A newborn vampire can't handle him." Ruby explained her reasoning. Kaguya ignores Ruby's reasoning and asks, "Lady Ruby, have you forgotten what we are?" Ruby opens her eyes for a moment when she understands what Kaguya means. Kaguya flashes a cold smile. "We are vampires. We are not like wolves that take care of each other. If Victor dies fighting Corneliu, that means he wasn't as special as Lady Violet always said." "Indeed," Ruby said with a cold smile. But soon she continues with a gentle smile. "But I don't intend to become a widow before meeting my husband. And as a perfect maid, I can't let my master be sad. After all, a maid must always prioritize the best for her master," Kaguya commented with a small smile on her face. "Looks like we've agreed on something," Ruby said with the same smile. "Indeed," Kaguya agreed. "But I didn't come here to talk about it." Kaguya suddenly changes the subject. "I came here to say that Lady Violet's possessive attitude has been getting out of hand since the moment she met Victor. And she will probably try to kill you without worrying about the consequences." "I know," Ruby commented with a sad smile. "I've known her since she was little. I know how crazy she can be when someone takes something that belongs to her. And honestly, I guess Sasha and I shouldn't have been there when Victor was turned. After all, he was someone Violet had always been watching since she was a child. Ruby puts her hand on her neck, and suddenly her eyes change to blood red. A bloody atmosphere started coming out of Ruby's body, and slowly, it felt like Ruby's room was getting colder. It was like the temperature suddenly dropped into the negatives. But I don't intend to give up either. What happened in the ritual can't be undone, and I can't go into hibernation because of a little mistake like that. I have a lot of things I want to do in the future yet. If Victor does become my darling, and when he becomes my darling, he'll have my full support for whatever he wants to do in the future. Ruby's smile grew unnaturally, and her sharp teeth started to show. She was no longer a kind woman. She seems to have changed to something much worse in just a few days. And Kaguya noticed this change. Outside, Kaguya had the same blank expression. But inside, she couldn't help thinking, for God's sake, another one? Does Lord Victor's blood have properties that turn female vampires into stalkers? I understand. I'm leaving, Kaguya said. When she turned around, she had fulfilled her goal. Ruby, seeing that Kaguya was leaving, returned to her gentle appearance. Are you going to visit Sasha? She asked curiously. Yes, Kaguya said. Be careful with Sasha's new maid. She's special, Ruby warned her. What happened to the former maid? Kaguya asked as she turned and looked at Ruby, and seeing Ruby's sad look, she said, She died. Yes, she was murdered by the dogs of the church. Ruby spoke in an angry and at the same time sad tone. She knew Sasha's maid, Julia. She always talked a lot to Julia when she went to visit Sasha. I see, Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone, but Ruby could hear some sadness in her voice. Soon, the shadows started to engulf Kaguya, and she disappeared. Seeing that Kaguya is gone, Ruby looks at Luna, then her eyes change to blood red for a moment. And soon Luna starts acting normally. Sorry about that again, Luna. It's okay. I know I go overboard sometimes, Luna commented with a small smile on her face. Sometimes? Ruby raised an eyebrow. A nod. Luna used her right to remain silent. Ruby sighs and looks at her watch, seeing it was 8 o'clock in the morning. She thinks, it's still too early. My university starts in the afternoon, and I'm too lazy to make arrangements to avoid sunlight when I go out. I think I'll just sleep again. Ruby lays on the bed and pulls her sheet to cover her body. The moment she lays down, she feels thirsty. When she feels this craving for blood that can't be satiated by ordinary blood, she can't help cursing Violet. That bitch, she's got her thirst quenched, but she doesn't think about the consequences. Does she want my darling to go into a coma? Ruby's eyes kept changing red and green. She was trying to resist the bloodlust. Lady Ruby, Luna spoke worriedly. It's okay, Luna. Soon this problem will cease to exist. Ruby spoke while still lying down. As soon as she covers the sheet up to her head, she closes her eyes. She was trying to sleep while ignoring her bloodlust, which seems to be increasing with each passing day. Luna looks at Ruby worriedly. She can't help but think inwardly, that's bad. If it goes on like this, Lady Ruby could lose control or go into a sleep state. I need to do something. Luna was thinking about what she could do to help Ruby, but she couldn't find any ideas in her head when suddenly she has a brilliant idea. I'm going to get in touch with Ruby's mom. Two tall men were walking down the street as they were looking around. They were wearing two full black priest's robes. But unlike normal priest's clothes, these men's clothes were designed for combat and easy movement. Around these men's necks, a small white crucifix can be seen. The two men appeared to have Western features. One had dark black hair and brown eyes. The other had light brown hair and black eyes. While the black-haired man had a simple cut, the brown-haired man had a bowl-shaped haircut. Thomas, what are we doing? We've been down this street about 500 times. For the love of our Father, let's get out of here. The brown-haired man spoke impatiently. Shut up, dickhead. I feel those evil creatures around here. I smell the stink. Thomas, the black-haired man, spoke with conviction. When the brown-haired man hears what Thomas said, he is furious. Don't call me dickhead. I have a name that God gave me. My name is... Yes, whatever. Come on, dickhead. The equipment is feeling something over there, Thomas said as he pointed to a street. Hey, do not ignore me. And we've been down this street before, dickhead spoke. Strange. This is state-of-the-art equipment. Is it defective? Thomas spoke as he looked at the device in his hand. The device was shaped like a wooden crucifix. Dickhead approaches Thomas and looks at the equipment. He suddenly gets angrier. This is not state-of-the-art equipment. This equipment was used during the hunting of vampires in the 18th century. For the love of God, where did you get this? Huh? I got it from the church warehouse. It said equipment for tracking vampires. Did you look at which version of the equipment? Thomas turns his face away. Yes. Veins start popping in Dickhead's head. You're an idiot. Are these the famous hunters from the Inquisition? Victor, who was watching these two hunters on top of a house, asked as he looked at Violet, who was standing next to him. Violet turns her face away and replies, Yes. Are you sure? Victor looked at the two priests again and then looked at Violet, who was ignoring him. Yes, I guess. Violet replied uncertainly. Victor looked at the two priests again and seeing them argue again. Are you absolutely sure they aren't two comedians dressed as priests? Violet looks at the priests again, seeing how she had no way to explain the attitude of those priests. She uses her right to remain silent, but internally, she was thinking, I evacuated the humans from the surrounding area, thinking there might be conflict, but it looks like I've done a useless job. These two hunters are still inexperienced. Does it look like they're on their first mission? She thought. Victor looks at Violet for a moment and ignores her. Then he uses his vampire vision and looks at the priests. Seeing the golden energy covering those priests and feeling a little stink of sewage emanating from them, he confirms for the 10th time they are vampire hunters. Sigh. Victor couldn't help but sigh. No need to be disappointed, darling. There are experienced hunters. Maybe in the future, you'll find other hunters better. Violet starts talking quickly, as if trying to cheer him up. Victor looks at Violet, confused. I'm not disappointed by that. I'm just disappointed that these two agents messed up our moment, along with this stink of sewage. I was hoping they would be patent, he explained. Oh, on second thought, they messed up our moment together. Huh? Remembering that she was about to finally catch up with Victor, and those two hampered him with their stink. The anger she previously felt returned explosively. Violet suddenly starts to emit a bloody pressure. Victor, seeing Violet's bloodthirsty expression, thought she was very beautiful. But he also thought, fuck, she's going to kill them. When Violet disappears, Victor also disappears. While watching her, he was thinking, I can't let her kill those agents. I need to know their goals in this town. And so, the whisper fades. But the story never truly ends. Each tale hides within it a new beginning. Perhaps even another life waiting to be told. You've been listening to The Whisper of the Narrator. If this journey touched your soul, don't let it end here. Subscribe, stay, and listen again. For the next whisper will be deeper, darker, and more beautiful.